students, in previous class we have discussed about asexual mode of reproduction. Now today in this class we will be learning about sexual mode of reproduction in plants. The very first thing is, before getting into it, we will understand the parts of flower. In previous class I have told you that flowers are the reproductive part of plant. So this is flower, okay. Flower has many different parts. We have categorized the different part of flowers into two parts. The first is non-reproductive part and the second is reproductive part. Okay, so first we will understand how many parts are there. This is anther and this is filament. Anther and filament together makes male reproductive part, that is stamen. Okay, then from here stigma, style and ovary. These three makes the female reproductive part of flower, that is pistil. Okay, and what is remaining part? Petal and sepal. Petal and sepal are non-reproductive part of, so now how will you remember that what is male reproductive part and what is female reproductive part? If you are confused between these two, I have a trick for you. What is the trick? The trick is like stamen. Stamen stands for male reproductive part. Okay, male reproductive part is called stamen. So how will you remember this? In stamen, men means men and men means male. So male reproductive part is stamen and for female reproductive part it is pistil. It is so simple, Hana. Once again I am repeating. This is stamen. Stamen means male reproductive part. Male reproductive part, how will you remember? Men, men will stand for male reproductive part. Now anther and filament. Okay, so anther contain male reproductive part, that is pollen grain. Okay, and this stigma is very sticky in nature. It is very sticky so that it can stick the pollen grains. Okay, and then from here the sticky part, stigma, it will come down to style, and from style it will come down to ovary, where the fertilization will happen. And after fertilization, in the male gamete and the female gamete, it will produce what? It will produce zygote. What is zygote? Zygote is something which will produce a new plant. And after that formation of zygote, it will produce what? It will produce embryo. Now that embryo will turn into a fruit. Okay, and after over here when the male part, pollen grain, will come here, then it will come to style. After coming to style, it will come in ovary and there it will produce zygote. And zygote is what? Zygote will then turn into embryo, and after that it will turn into a fruit. After turning into a fruit, the ovules in ovary, there are what? In ovary there are egg cell presence. Okay, then this ovary, over here a fruit will form, and inside a fruit there will be seed, and after that the other part of this flower will fall off. Then what we will get from a flower? We will get a fruit, and fruits are of two types. First kind of fruit are very juicy in nature, like lemon and mango. These are very juicy. And other kind of fruits like walnut, it is very hard in nature. Okay. Now getting into next topic, that is pollination. Now what do you understand by pollination? Pollination is something that the transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma is called pollination. Once again I am repeating, what is pollination? Pollination is something that transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma is pollination. There are two kinds of pollination. The first is self-pollination and the other is cross-pollination. What is self-pollination? Self-pollination will happen in between the same flower. Like from here, from anther to stigma it will come and pollination will happen here. Okay. And the other kind of pollination is cross-pollination. Cross-pollination will happen in the same plant or in the other plant of the same kind. Like if there is, like suppose there is a tree, okay, in the tree of rose, we will take the example of rose. Suppose in rose, if it will happen like from anther to stigma of the same rose plant will come. So it is self-pollination. And suppose there are two rose plants, one here and the other here. So there are two rose plants, then if the anther from here if from here the anther will get into the stigma of this flower, then we will call it cross-pollination. Means that from suppose we have two plants, okay, two rose plants. From this rose plant the anther will travel to this stigma and here the pollination will happen. Then this is what? This is cross-pollination. It is not happening in this plant only. Now we will understand it is not happening in the same plant. What is self-pollination? If in a flower from anther, this is anther and pollen grains are travelling to stigma in the same flower only. So we call this self-pollination. Okay. Now in cross-pollination what is happening? From different flower the anther is coming to this stigma of this flower, or suppose the anther is travelling from this flower to the stigma of the other flower. So if we call this cross pollination, it is travelling from one flower to the other flower of the same kind of plant. So we call it cross pollination. Okay. Now there are two types of flower. The first type of flower is unisexual and the other kind of flower is bisexual. What is unisexual? Unisexual is if a plant is either male or either female, we call it unisexual, and the one which contains both male and female, we call it bisexual. Let's see what are the example of unisexual. The example of unisexual is papaya and corn. If a papaya plant you have seen anywhere, it must be either male papaya or either female. Okay. And what is bisexual? Bisexual example is rose and petunia. Now in rose and petunia, both male and female sex will be present in one plant only. Okay. Now getting into the next topic, that is seed dispersal. What is seed dispersal? Now like we have got mango in our home. Okay, after eating mango we have thrown the seed outside. Okay, now how will these seeds of many fruits will get planted as a new flower? So there are different methods. The first one is by wind. Seed will be dispersed by wind. How will wind disperse seed? Some seeds are very light in weight, so that it can be easily carried out by wind. So the example are maple and drumstick. These maple and drumstick seeds are very light in weight and they are feathery structure that it will be easily flown away with the help of air. And the next mode of dispersal is water. Water example is coconut. How will seed of coconut disperse? So it will be dispersed by the help of water. Like coconut seeds are, they develop very spongy nature, and they develop, or suppose sometimes they develop outer covering of mesh like structure, so that it can be easily flown away with the help of water. Okay, the next mode of dispersal is by animal. How will animal disperse? You may have seen the seed of Xanthium arurena. These seeds are very sticky in nature. Okay, if you will pass from like from the area like a jungle, if you will pass from there, then you will notice that many seeds have stuck in your clothes. So these are what? These are seed of those plant, and when you will remove it, then it will get dispersed to another place. So in this mode, they are traveling from one place to another, and the dispersal is happening of these seeds. And the other mode of dispersal is when a fruit bursts out. There are some fruit that after ripening it bursts out, and when it bursts out, the seed gets dispersed, and in this way the dispersal happens. In which it happens in castor and balsam. So this was all about today's lecture. Hope you all understand. Thank you.